What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another super simple raid guide where the point of the video is to get you in these raids, downing these bosses as fast as possible with as little information as possible. So first up on our list here, we have HYDROSS. Now this is the first boss you're going to encounter in SSC. On this boss, you're going to need two tanks. One tank with a frost resistance set that has about 240 frost resistance with a buff or an aura, and another tank with a nature resist set at about 240 nature with a buff or the hunter's aspect of the wild aura. Now, you can go a little bit higher than this. It'll just make you take less damage and make it easier. I think in my pull here, I had around 300 with the hunter aspect of the wild. As the weeks progress and you get gear, you're going to take a lot less damage anyway, so you can kind of, go down a little bit on your resistance gear. But starting point is going to be 240 frost and 240 nature resistance. So you're going to start the fight out with your frost resistance tank. He's going to pull him to the back. Now keep in mind, you are going to be holding him until you get to about 100% on the debuff that he's putting on you. Once you get to this point, your frost resistance tank is going to want to pull him through the two flags. This will then change him into the nature resistance, where your nature resist tank is going to be picking him up. This is also going to spawn adds, and either one of the other tanks in your raid, if you have any other tanks, they can pick up those adds if you can't yourself. Myself as a warrior, it's kind of hard to pick up those adds. I don't really have that much AoE while I'm trying to pump some threat into the boss. Now, it's really important to note though, as you switch him from frost to nature or nature back to frost, he does a complete threat drop. So DPS is going to have to lighten up, your tank is going to have to pick it up, and then hold him in place. You can switch him back and forth as many times as you want, but pretty much for the most part, when the stacking buff on you gets to 100%, that is when you're going to want to switch him back to the other one. Either way, this is a pretty simple fight. You're just kind of dancing between these poles. Honestly, as our DPS gets stronger as the phase goes on, he's going to go down a lot quicker, and you're probably going to only have to transition him maybe once or twice. Other than those mechanics for the tanks, this is pretty much just a tank and spank. You can choose to either CC the adds that come out or just seed them down with Warlock Seed of Corruption. That's what we did here, and it worked out pretty well. Next up on our list here, we have Lurker. Now, on all of these platforms surrounding the main platform where you're going to fish up Lurker, you are going to have at least 1 to 2 ranged DPS. For some reason, if you don't have someone on one of these platforms, Lurker can bug out, and we want to avoid that. So it's really beneficial if you have multiple mages to have mages separated on different platforms so that they can polymorph some of the adds that come out. Either way, when you start this fight, it's going to be pretty simple. Lurker really only has one actual mechanic, and that's going to be Spout. He's going to just spin around, spitting this water out in a direct line in front of him, and you could either follow behind or in front of him and keep DPSing if you're melee. Range, you're going to want to jump in the water until it passes you, and then you could jump back up. But keep in mind, the water does do damage to you, so you're not going to want to stay in the water for that long. So in phase 2, he's going to spawn some adds. That means that ranged on the platforms can CC these ambushers, and you're going to focus down the guardians first. Either way, get the guardians down and the ambushers down, and then it's pretty much rinse and repeat. It's a very simple fight. There's not much moving around. You're just dodging the spout and killing the adds. Make sure that you have a second tank picking up some threat here, so that in case your main tank gets knocked back and can't pick Lurker up, your second tank can pick up tanking, just like I did here in our run. It's a very simple fight, and I think you guys are going to do great. Now for the next boss, we have MOROGRIM. MOROGRIM, I felt like, was pretty easy. He only has a few different abilities here. So you're going to have Tidal Wave, which is a frontal cone, so pretty much all you have to do to make sure you don't get hit by this is don't be in front of the boss. The only one who should be getting hit by this is the tank. The next thing he's going to do is Watery Grave. This will take 4 players to the middle of the room, stun them, and deal damage. So make sure that you have healers spread out in the room to be able to reach those players so that they do not die to Watery Grave. Other than that, he's going to do an Earthquake, which deals damage and spawns some Murlocs. You're going to want to have the Paladin tank pick up all these Murlocs and AoE them down. Your main tank that is on MOROGRIM, just make sure they're uncrushable, because I didn't have my uncrushable set on, and I tanked our first pull and got absolutely destroyed. At 25%, he's going to summon water globules that fixate on a single player. Basically, you're going to want to pull him into the back corner like we did here so that people have a better time getting away from them. They deal a ton of damage, so they will kill you. So have your tank pull him back into the corner here and just nuke him down. Up next, we have the FATHOMLORD fight. So here, there's going to be 4 bosses total. What we did here was we had 4 tanks. We had our Ret Paladin go prop for this to make it even easier. So the kill order for this fight is going to be Tidalvis, Sharkus, Charybdis, and then Carithres. What I did as a warrior was I took HYDROSS and pulled her all the way over here. I took 1 healer with me and 2 interrupts to kick all of her heals. Very simple. The other tanks are going to pick up 1 each. We had our bear on HYDROSS, and then we had our 2 prop paladins tanking HYDROSS and TBC. We pretty much nuked down TBC very easily, and then HYDROSS, CHYDROSS, and then HYDROSS, like I said before. To help with interrupting the heals on HYDROSS, you're going to want a Curse of Tongues kept up on it from a Warlock, and we also had our Rogue keep Mind Numbing Poison up. These heals go off really fast, so anything you can do to increase the cast time definitely helps. Other than that, this fight is very simple. The main mechanic you're going to watch out for here is the Spitfire Totem. When this totem comes out, you're going to want to kill it as quickly as possible. It's also important to note here that you can kind of kill in any order because we ended up killing HYDROSS first and then finishing off HYDROSS, so you can do that as well. We had no idea that that was even a thing, but we did it in our raid. So up next, we have Leo. So when you start this fight, you're going to be attacking the 3 spellbinders that are kind of holding Leo in place. You cannot kick the Mind Blast that they cast. So what you're going to have to do is separate all 3 of these spellbinders. If you stack them together, the Mind Blasts are going to go off at the same time and kill like 5 to 8 people in your raid. So separate the spellbinders and single target them down. Once they go down, you're going to engage Leo. So your main tank is going to pick him up in human form. This is your tank that does not have the fire resistance set. In this case, it was me and our bear druid kind of fighting for threat. So you pick him up in human form, and really the only mechanic he does in this form is a whirlwind. So to help mitigate the damage from that, you're going to want to spread your raid out as much as possible so that when he jumps to someone with whirlwind, it's only dealing damage to that one player. In phase 2, after about 1 minute into the fight, he's going to turn into a demon. Now, it's important to note here that demon slaying elixir does not work, so I'm sorry for that. But in demon form, this is when you're going to want your tank that has the fire resistance set to pick him up and try and maintain him. Now, one thing we did notice is that this was kind of hard as he transitioned from human to demon form. The threat was kind of all over the place. So on our last pull, we did a few pulls of this. When we got him down, we made sure that DPS kind of lightened up every time that he was transferring through stages. And it really helped a lot with helping the tanks get threat in that phase. So in demon form, he's also going to be casting something called Inner Demons. This is going to spawn a demon that links to a specific player in the raid, and only that player can target and kill that mob. They do need to kill that mob, otherwise they're going to get mind controlled. Even if it's a healer, they need to turn and destroy that demon. In phase 3, he's going to go human form again, and it's a repeat of phase 1. This goes on until 15% health. At 15%, human and demon form come out at the same time, and you're just going to be nuking down the human form to get him completely down. Now, the last boss in the raid is Lady Vash, okay? So from 100% all the way down to 70%, she's in phase 1. And in this phase, you really don't have to worry about much. All you have to worry about is static charge, which is a debuff that's going to get put randomly on players, and you want to just run away from your raid if you have this on you. If you stand near everyone, they're going to take a ton of damage. So at around 70%, Lady Vash is going to enter phase 2. This is the phase that seems pretty chaotic until you really understand it. There's going to be ads spawning all around the room. So here's all the different types of ads. Coilfang Elites will spawn. These are going to be picked up by tanks, and melee DPS is going to get these down as fast as possible. She's going to spawn Striders, which are the big, long, tentacle-looking guys. You're going to have a ranged kind of kite and tank this around the room. Keep this away from melee because it lets out a big fear. So the prio here is ranged is going to be DPS prio on the Striders and then helping out with the Elementals and the Coilfang Elites. Melee is going to be on the Coilfang Elites, getting those down as fast as possible while also targeting the Elementals and not letting any of these Elementals get to Lady Vash. Aside from that, tainted Elementals are going to spawn in different sections of the room. When you kill a tainted elemental, it drops a tainted core. You're then going to have to pick up that core. While you're holding the tainted core, you cannot move. So you're basically going to be throwing it up in a chain to the next player in your raid and then dunking it in one of the 4 pillars in the center of the circle. So basically make a line of players and kind of just pass the tainted core along that line. Again, when you pick it up, you cannot move. And just so you know, it is an item that goes in your bag. So you need to loot it when you kill the tainted elemental. After you dunk 4 cores in all 4 of those pillars in the center of the room, phase 3 will start. But one important thing to note, do not dunk the last core until all of the Coilfang Elites and Striders are dead. Once you have no elites and striders up, dunk that last core, and that will initiate phase 3. So here, just on the off chance that you do have any other ads up, make sure you clean them up while your tank goes in and picks up Lady Vash. You're going to Bloodlust here at the start of this phase. You're going to be watching out for static charge, just like we did in phase 1, and toxic spore bats are going to spawn. What makes this a lot easier is having your hunters in your raid immediately take out the toxic spore bats. This reduces the amount of poison that they're going to put on the ground under people. In this phase, that is the hardest mechanic. These spore bats put poison on the ground, and if you basically get rooted while you're in one of those poison spots, you are going to die. It's pretty hard to survive, and most healers are not going to be able to heal through that. So if you have your hunters, switch to the spore bats and get those down. This phase actually is a lot easier than most people think. And that's really it, guys. That is the entire raid. I tried to make it as simple as possible for you guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys love Classic WoW just as much as me, and come hang out on my stream at twitch.tv/hammerdance. I stream Monday through Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.